Breaking tonight, critics slamming the White House for trying to rewrite history, with the administration now insisting the Taliban, a group that has ruthlessly murdered men, women, and children, is not a terror group. Welcome to the Kelly File, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. We begin tonight with a couple of dramatic new events in the raging debate over how the Obama administration is dealing with radical Islam. Just hours ago, the White House spokesman declared that the Taliban was not a terror group, but was instead a, quote, armed insurgency. This is the same organization that just a few weeks ago stormed a schoolhouse in Pakistan and murdered 132 school children. The Obama administration issued an edict a few years back banning the words jihad and Islamic extremism from its national security discussions. And now the administration seems to find itself in lockstep with Al Jazeera English, the Middle Eastern news network here in America that Al Gore helped bring to the USA when he sold them his television outlet, Current TV. As it turns out, Al Jazeera English apparently has a real problem with the English part of its name, certain words in particular, like terrorist and Islamist. Quote, one person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter, executives there explained. I am not making this up. And with all of this playing out, we have new Fox News polls tonight showing what real Americans think, with 56% of respondents saying we are at war with radical Islam, 47% saying the president underestimates the threat, and in the third poll, 84% say they think the terrorists will try to launch an attack on U.S. soil, and soon. Trace Gallagher has the story from our West Coast newsroom tonight. Trace?
Megyn, White House Deputy Press Secretary Eric Schultz was asked if the Jordanian government's plan to make a prisoner trade with the Islamic State was similar to the U.S. swapping 5 members of the Taliban for Sergeant Bo Bergdahl. First, Schultz said we don't negotiate with terrorists, and then he said this. Listen.
I don't think that the Taliban is an armed insurgency. This was the winding down of the war in Afghanistan, and that's why this arrangement was dealt.
Except, as you stated, we now know the Taliban are still conducting terror attacks. And listen to what Charles Krauthammer said earlier on Special Report.
It slits throats, it attacks buses, it drives car bombs into markets, and it's not a terrorist group. Look, you can't parody this administration.
And in the new Fox News poll, the American people are speaking louder than Krauthammer. Asked about the Obama administration's policy toward hotspots in the Middle East, 54% say it has mostly failed. 29% say it has mostly succeeded. Many also cite the administration's hesitation to call terror terror. This comes at the very same time we're learning that the news network Al Jazeera America also will not use the words terrorism or terrorist because, as one executive explained in an email, one person's terrorist is another's freedom fighter. Though we looked and could not find any examples of freedom fighters whose goal was to attack and kill innocent women and children. The email to Al Jazeera employees was to bring attention to, quote, key words that have a tendency to trip us up. So instead of extremists, employees are told to use violent group. The word jihad is also out because the network claims it does not mean holy war. Instead, it means inner spiritual struggle. Other words are also to be avoided, like militants, radicals, and insurgents will now be referred to as simply fighters, but there is an exception when it comes to using the word militant. Quote, we can use this term to describe the individuals who favor confrontational or violent methods in support of a political or social cause, which confuses me because I thought those were freedom fighters. Megyn.
You got to bend over backwards to be very protective and fair to those terrorists. They get very upset when they hear themselves referred to in those terms. Trace, thank you.